Everybody, we good? Good morning, everybody. Good to get back on track, and proud of the guys and proud of the way they played. They took a game that we should dominate, and they dominated it. And the most fun thing about that game was how many guys got to play, around 90. And they played well. I think it's the best I've ever seen a group of backup guys come into a game and play. Because usually they're disorganized and too excited, and this bunch played well. They played great on defense. A lot of young guys got playing time that will help them in the future. It shows that we've recruited well, and we've got some good young players coming up. It was good to get Connor Harrell some work, and very honestly, I've always been the guy that didn't want the score to get out of hand, so I've handed the ball off when the backup quarterback goes in, and that's not smart on my part. So we decided with Connor, we were going to let him run the offense and do the things he would do if he was in the game, because he's one play away from playing. So I thought that was much better, and proud of Chris Culver having a great catch in the end zone, and Deems Maye got a ball at tight end, and that helps your team morale in your locker room so much, because those guys, they get some rewards really for how hard they've worked and how little they get to play. And some of those guys may get more playing time because of that. Proud that we're back in the polls in both cases. Guys have worked hard. This is a good team that had 2 slip-ups. You can sit there, and if you want to, if you're on the positive side of it, you can say we're a few plays away from being a top 10 team. If you want to be negative, you can say a whole lot of people are a few plays away from being a top team. So it just depends on how you get up in the morning, whether that glass half full or half empty. As you look at it, mine's always going to be half full or totally full, because that's what I'm supposed to do, is be leading a bunch of young people that need to pick up themselves in their lives and move forward. But we just proud of the guys. We really didn't get anybody hurt. I can understand why Coach Fedora put a game like that at this time of the year. It was healthy for us, probably better than I'd rather do that than have an open date, because your starters had to go think a little bit, but the rest of your team got to play, and your starters rested for most of the game. Really excited about the way the young ones played. I think that's what came out of Saturday for me, and to see the energy that it creates on the sideline when they see the older ones see the young ones making plays. It's really fun. It's nearly like a walk-on getting a scholarship offer. They just love their teammates being able to accomplish stuff. We made a huge mistake that really got us in trouble at State and Wake when we had the bench celebrating on the Chris Culver touchdown pass. You can't do that. I understand, but it's lack of discipline, and it's something that you say, I'm glad that you were so happy for Connor and Chris, but it cost us a game. So be more disciplined than that and stay on the sideline. We handled the 1-minute drills that we've been worried about at the end of the game better than I've ever seen us handle them. At halftime, we scored 3 times, used our timeouts perfectly, until we had the quick field goal at the end, and we botched that. And I'm glad we did, because it didn't hurt us in the game, and it'll be a great teacher. You usually don't have to use that. We work on it every week, obviously working it on practice, different games. The kids got excited and they ran out there on their own. The coach that's supposed to hold them should have been standing right in front of them and holding them, and we would have spiked the ball and kicked the field goal and got 24 points in that small time right before the half. So I'm glad that got messed up, because now we can fix it. And we thought it was fixed, but sometimes practice doesn't look like game. And real pressure, real time with that clock ticking down, they got a little bit nervous about it. But again, good to have played a lot of guys. Offensive player of the game was Corey Gaynor. He played great. He was over 90% with his grade. Had a lot of calls. They were blitzing it different ways, and he did some really good things. Corey's been such a leader for us, and it'll be fun to see him out there on senior day, because he's made a difference in this program. And that says something for a guy who transfers in to make this big an impact at our center position. So really, really proud of him. I love him. I love the way he fights and competes, and he wants to win, and he is emotional with it, and he's aggressive with it. And I just love who he is. Seth Gray's our defensive player of the game, and that's amazing for a guy that's that good to go play against Campbell like he did. He had 9 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, a forced fumble, and he stopped a fake punt. And you would think that'd be a guy that normally would be flat on a day like that. He doesn't have flat days. You got to love him and his energy, and again, him walking out there for senior day will be emotional this Saturday as well. And then very proud of our special teams player was Jalen Brooks. He's a young walk-on from Raleigh that he fumbled. He recovered a fumble on the kickoff, and then he actually covered the guy that they were throwing to on the fake punt, which is unnoticed when you go out there, but that's the reason the fake punt didn't work. It was going to be a screen, and his guy was the guy that we're throwing it to, and he was all over him, and then he made a tackle on a kickoff as well. So really, really proud of Jalen. And he pressured their punter. That's why we didn't have any punt returns. He was knocking the wing back into the punter every time, and it made it very, very difficult for them to get very good punts off. So proud of those 3 guys. A lot of guys played well. Most of the team played well, but those guys were the outstanding players. Offensively, nearly 600 yards, 318 passing, and 276 rushing. Very good balance. Omarion continues to be one of the better backs in the country. He's first in the ACC and 4th in the NCAA, averaging 118 yards rushing a game, and had a 75-yarder call back. So he should have had over 200 yards rushing again on Saturday, which is hard to do, and he didn't play that much. I think he played like 25 plays or something. We were 3 for 3 touchdowns in the red zone. We've had 8 touchdowns in our last 8 trips to the red zone. And that's very impressive. That was one of our goals this spring. It was good to get Connor Harrell some work, live work, and we thought he handled it really, really well. And right now we're number 3 in the country at plus 12 in turnover margin, and you got to credit both sides of the ball for that. We're forcing more turnovers, and at the same time we're protecting the ball offensively. So that gives us a chance as we go down a very difficult stretch here at the end. Defensively, only gave up 7 points. We allowed 180 yards on the first 5 drives, and then just 107 the remaining 8. 98 yards at halftime rushing. They ended up with only 102. So the guys stepped up and did what they were supposed to do, and Campbell was only 6 of 16 on 3rd downs. And they had some really good offensive players. Number 0, Anderson, was a transfer from Iowa State. He was really good. He could play anywhere. He's big and tall. He caught too many balls, but he did a good job. The quarterback was very accurate, like we thought, and he could run. So they had some good skill on offense. They had more trouble stopping us than they do moving the ball. And they've got Delaware this weekend. I really respect what Mike's done there, and hope they can step up and finish their season strong. I hope they didn't get many kids hurt. Special teams, we produced 2 turnovers on special teams. You talk about your special teams making a difference, and you don't want them just to be there, change the game, and these did. Noah Burnett made all of his kicks. We said we were disappointed in the execution right before the half of the field goal, the botched deal, but really and truly when it didn't change that game, it's really a blessing because you fix it at a time where it doesn't matter. That's what we all want to do. If you can make mistakes that don't affect your outcome and force you to fix them, that way it helps you do it. Great rivalry with Duke going back to 1988. And anytime you get something that you play for and it goes back and forth like the Victory Bell, that's really cool too. Started in 1948. Mike Elko's done a tremendous job at Duke. David Cutcliffe did a great job at Duke. I looked it up this morning. Duke had beaten Carolina 5 out of 7 before we got here. 5 out of the last 7. So David did a tremendous job. And 2 of our games have come down to the last play of the game. So this is a great game, a great rivalry. They run the ball so well. Mike's a tough coach, and they're playing tremendous defense. So it should, along with senior day, homecoming, packed house, night game, it should be a tremendous setting for this weekend. Questions?
Mack, is it weird to go from a week where maybe there's not a lot of juice with Campbell to a week where it's all the emotions, senior day, homecoming, rivalry game like you said with Duke? Does that give you whiplash almost?
Mike, I guess I don't think about it much. We just have to play. So, we can't really concern ourselves about who shows up or how they are when they show up, or because that way we're like this, and teams are that way enough anyway, so we're trying to do this. I do know we've got the 3 most emotional games in a row here, 2 of them on the road, that I've ever coached in. So we didn't get any favors with schedule, but this we're going to have to be really tough mentally and physically to be able to handle this 3-game stretch.
Mack, I know you like to kind of go about things on a week-by-week, game-by-game basis, but how much have you kind of emphasized to the rest of the team the need to kind of win out and get those last 3 ACC games?
But with social media, Jeremiah, they all know. You don't have to tell them anything. They know it before I tell them. What I have to tell them is facts, because a lot of times it gets distorted on opinions. And what I try to do in our team meetings, Sunday, here's where it is, here's what's happening, and then I'll put up, I think there's 7 bowl teams, eligible bowl teams in the ACC out of 15 right now, so I'll show them that, and they should be proud of their 7 wins, and that a lot of people aren't bowl eligible. There's only 7 in the SEC right now that are bowl eligible, so that's a fact. And then just talking about this weekend. Because the more you can get rid of the stuff and focus on the next game, the faster you can do that, the better off you are.
Mack, you know your players very well. Who do you think would be the most emotional of the guys playing their last home game?
Oh boy.
Maybe a younger quarterback too.
Yeah, this is a fun team. I love these kids. Corey Gaynor is one of the most emotional guys I've ever seen in my life. Ced Gray. He likes to play it cool, but he is hyped all the time. So and senior day is different now, Chip, because when you're sitting and looking at it, you'll have seniors that don't know that they're going to be back or not, so they'll go, okay, I'm going senior day, and then they come back, and then like some of them say, well, I did senior day last year, I don't want to do it twice. And then you've got the NFL factor, you've got the transfer portal. So it is different. What I do is when they come out at senior day, it usually tells us that they're through with school, and they've got to get in graduate school if they're going to come back, but it doesn't tell us they're not coming back, which is used to when they walk out there. That's it. Yeah. So I'll see you next in January. One of those deals. So yeah, I'll see you in spring practice. But it's always really unique, because in some cases, and it was always Duke when I was here before, on every other year was our last game. But it was interesting that some guys didn't play well early because they were so emotional. So I always said, if you're going to cry after the game, man. Don't cry before the game. I need you playing.
You can't help it.
Cry after a win. Don't be crying and then lose.
You mentioned Duke, Carolina, the nature of the series. Is it changed?
No, I mentioned Carolina Duke.
Carolina Duke.
Yes.
UNC Duke.
Yes.
Carolina Duke. But how much has it changed since the first time you were here to now? Obviously, it's not the same on the schedule.
Yeah.
Is there a different sense to the series than there used to be?
I don't think so. I think the victory bell is really important to both teams. This game is why kids come to this school. You just mentioned those two names, UNC and Duke. You mentioned them nationally, and people know that they're 8 miles apart, and that it's really an important game. And to the older guys that support us, Chip, when I was here before, that was their game because they grew up with this game. So it's a very, very important game for both teams.
You mentioned slip-ups a few minutes ago. Do you think you fixed the things that led to those slip-ups, and how important is it with these next 3, given the kinds of teams you're playing, that those things get fixed if they're not?
Yeah, you always hope you fix mess-ups, slip-ups, and about the time you think you got them fixed, they show up again. But we did have much better gap control on Saturday. We did play the run much better. I thought we gave up a couple of 3rd and 13s that I didn't like. We missed a quarterback sack in the end zone that led to a 30-yard run explosive that we should have tackled because we had the blitz on and we were right there and just he outran us. But I do think that I know the emphasis is there. I know Georgia Tech's quarterback's really good. I got that deal where I watched the top 50 plays of each game I'm interested in last night, and he was hard to tackle at Virginia too. So he's really a good player, and he's given Georgia Tech a chance to be good with their skill outside because they scored 45 points again on the road at a place where they hadn't been winning at Charlottesville this weekend. So we'll have our hands full, and I'm really excited to watch our team play against 3 good teams that are going to all run the ball and see where we are. So we're going to get tested in those areas that Duke, Clemson, and NC State saw those same 2 videos.
Yeah.
So they're going to run the same plays that those guys did.
Well, staying on that, a lot of people dismiss performance against someone like a Campbell. But when you're watching the film, you're still looking for the same things. You're still looking for the technicalities, the executing properly. And that's going to show you, I guess, how much progress the guys made. So are you pleased with, especially defensively, with the run fits and the gap control, especially after maybe the first quarter?
Yes, totally. I thought it was so much better, and we showed that yesterday, and gap control is gap control. Yeah. And, Campbell had some really good players. They got 55 transfers and #1 recruiting class in FCS last year, and they had some skill guys in space, and we still missed some tackles on Saturday, but we didn't miss as many. Yes, I'm very pleased with what I saw from our defense after the start of the game Saturday.
Mack, will Drake go through senior night?
I love Drake. I love him like a son. I've got such respect and appreciation for that young guy. He and Sam have been 2 joys in my life and Carolina fans' life here over the last 5 years. It's just been amazing that we've seen these 2 guys play. So we will ask him if he wants to. It's not my place to tell him to. And he's very emotional, and he just wants to win. And you all have seen him. He's so humble that he doesn't want attention brought to himself. I think it would be cool for him to walk out there for everybody to say thank you. But if he doesn't want to do that, Sam did.
Right.
And we had this same discussion, but Sam was graduating too.
Right.
But Sam did for the Western Carolina game and didn't play in the game. Was it Wofford? Wofford. Thank you, Jeremy, for telling me it was Western Carolina.
Don't blame Jeremy now.
Got it. I won't. No regrets, no excuses. I shouldn't have listened to Jeremy. That's the way to put it, right? I'm not blaming Jeremy. I just shouldn't have trusted him.
So when you're saying,
And at this age, he would say, "That's not what I told you." So that's what you get. Yeah.
But you're saying it would be cool for him to get that recognition. That's your.
From my standpoint, if he wants it, he's deserved it, and I would love for him to get it. If he's so focused in the game, he doesn't want to walk out there, I totally understand. But that will totally be his decision.
so it is an absolute, this is his last one. It's absolute.
I think it's absolute. It would be mine. Very honestly.
So if you're advising, we know what you're advising.
I do. He's going to be a first-round draft choice, and he's going to make a whole lot of money. And is it best for me if he stays? Absolutely, but that's not who we are. I mean, you can't sit here and say that if I want him to be treated like my son, if my son came in and asked me, I would say go. Vince Young came in and asked me, I'm going to make $20 million if I leave. What do you think? I said, I'd be out of here, man. Go.
This question just popped in my head. I hate hogging this, but do you ever hear from anybody in the league during the course of the season, especially maybe people you know about someone like him?
Very seldom. We have pro scouts every day at practice, and most of them will come up and we'll talk during, and Daryl Moody does a tremendous job of 18-year pro scout. So he knows them all. He knows the general managers. He knows the owners. And I've let him talk to all of those people and our players. Because if our assistant coaches start talking about our players, it's really hard for an assistant coach to say, I think you ought to leave. Because they want them to come back so bad. And so I don't want to put them in that position either. Daryl takes an independent position, and he says, here's what they're saying about you, and the kids trust him, and they know that he's telling them exactly what he has heard, not what he thinks they should do. And that's what we do. And we've told them that if you can make a lot of money, leave. It's hard to make money. So if you can make a lot of money, leave. If not, you want to come back, we'd love to have you come back and play. Sid Gray is the only one that has really surprised me since we've been here that he came back. And that's why I'm so proud of him, because he could have been probably second round draft choice, and he decided to come back because he wanted to play again, wanted to finish school. So good for him.
Mack, you saw Duke's defensive line last year.
This is two really old guys, so I guess we can let an old guy get in front of an old guy.
Oh, man. Is that true, Doc?
You gotta throw it in later, Charlie.
You saw Duke's defensive line last year. You were approaching this game with Mike after postseason. What have you seen this year when you look at them?
I think their defense is better this year than it was last year. Mike's done a tremendous job coaching them. They're well coached. Their front, Carter's as good as anybody in the country, but all of them are. They're well coached. They get in the right gaps. They play with leverage. They've had some injuries on defense like we have, and they just put another guy in, and he's well coached and plays well. They really help themselves with some transfers at corner. They're fast and can play. But their defense is as good as anybody in the country. It'll be a real challenge for us this weekend.
I was going to ask, last week Devin Swing had a pretty lively radio show, but one point he brought up was when you win a lot, it's hard to balance expectations with appreciation for what you've done. Obviously, you were in that situation at Texas, and maybe here too. Just how hard is it that constant expectation, trying to meet expectations?
Yeah. Chip, I think it's really hard, but you'd rather have it than not have it, because that means you've won a lot of games. And the other part of that is, I would get frustrated with fans for having those expectations. I got the same ones. I get mad if we don't. I got mad we lost 2 games. Now I got to pick everybody up. Everybody else can lay and gripe all weekend all week till the next game. I can't. I got to go back to work. In fact, I have friends that say, "How are you handling everything?" I said, "Same way I do every Tuesday. I'm back watching video and I'm practicing and going to work." "Well, you know, it's bad out there." And I said, "I'm not out there, man. I'm going back to work." And the only way you can shut up the negatives is win. And what I learned, and I learned it here at the end, but I really learned it at Texas, is that part of the being a fan is having opinions. That's part of the gig. That's part of what you like. You get to coach, and you get to criticize, and you get to have opinions and be strong. And my sons do that. I mean, I sit there at home, and they'll say, "Oh, that coach is an idiot." And I'm thinking, excuse me, it's what your dad does, boys. But I don't worry about that anymore. And I do know it's horrible on Saturday night, and there's probably alcohol and gambling involved with some of it. And then it gets a little bit better on Sunday, a little better on Monday. By Tuesday, we're mad, but getting ready to fight for the next week. I'm pretty much the same thing. I don't gamble and don't get drunk. But other than that, I'm mad on Saturday night, and here I am on Sunday, and I'm still mad. But I have to get through it and move forward. And we've got these 3 emotional games coming up. We've got to be able to handle each one of them individually. And win or lose, we got to go back to work, because we're going to play a really good team the next week that wants to beat us.
Mack, you mentioned Corey and Sed as being 2 guys you think might be emotional. Are there any other seniors or possible seniors among this group that stand out to you as, like, I don't know, Carolina guys? Best way to put it.
Yeah, think about British Brooks and his journey. 6 years, walk on, turned down some lower level scholarships to come here. I didn't know who he was. And then he starts fighting his way to get on a special team or 2. And then you end up starting, and then you run your knee, and in a fall scrimmage, and then you decide to come back, and he's been banged up all year, but he just fights it, and he does everything right, and he wants to coach. So what a wonderful journey that young guy's had through sports, and he is such an example that I use him a whole lot of a guy who steps up. And there's guys like John Adorno, played really well when we put him on Saturday. We hadn't played him a lot. And I told the team yesterday, you know what, here's a guy that hadn't griped. He plays hard every time we put him in. He's tough and physical, and he needs to play more. And you really appreciate guys like that are on your team that just keep their mouth shut and play, and they're no drama. And we've got a team like that. Our team, by and large, has got great kids at a time with transfer portal and a time with NIL. These kids have done so well representing their school and not griping and not asking for money. And I just love this team, and I hope they can finish well.
Have you talked to British about coming back as a GA, maybe? He said he wants to get into coaching.
I think he will. All the guys want to have a shot at the NFL. And he's for special teams, and he's got all those things. But we would definitely love to have him back at some point if he wants to come back. And another guy, when you start talking about seniors, DJ Jones, tailback, says, I want to play, put me where you want. And we put him at special teams. Then Saturday, we're thin at running back. We say, you may have to come over and play on third downs as a running back. He's special teams captain Saturday on 4 special teams. There's so many stories with these kids. I get emotional talking about them because they're just really super kids. I'm so proud of them.
Sorry to cut you off.
Okay.
We talked to you Saturday, and there was sort of the theme of getting some of the confidence back after the 2 losses with the way you played against Campbell. But are you of the belief, or do you think you're of the belief that this team might not be able to won't be able to fully recapture that confidence that it did have those first 6 games until you get back in the ACC and play a team on your level and respond in that way? Is that the way you fully get it back?
No, I think you got to be able to handle criticism. You got to be able to self-evaluate when you have a bad day, and then you've got to be able to pick yourself back up and go, these kids are confident. But when you take the Georgia Tech fourth quarter and show them, and then you show Saturday that they did things right and it worked, and they didn't do things right and it didn't work, they walk out of there and say, I got it, I see it, and I'm in a better position now to move forward. And I think they'll really be looking forward to Duke's offense, for instance, on Saturday night, because it's a challenge. And those running backs are really good. They got a big, strong offensive line. So that will be a test for us. And they've got a young quarterback that played much better at the end of the Wake game than he did at the beginning of the Wake game. He made some really key throws, and they've got really good receivers. So, and defensively, our guys had great respect for him last year. So, and they're better this year than they were last year. So I think they're really looking forward to this 3-game stretch. It'll be 3 packed houses. It'll be emotional games and close to 3 rival games as you can have. 2 of them on the road. It doesn't get any tougher than this. So good for them that they'll get tested here at the end and get to see if they can get some of the credibility back that they lost in those 2 games.
Mack, you talked about Drake and Omarion being towards the top in the nation for their respective statistical categories. Does it feel like this offense is the most balanced it's been since you've come back? And if so, is that more of a player personnel thing or a Chip Lindsey kind of having the influence of this offense?
I do think it's the most balanced we've had because we got away from the run some at Virginia, and that hurt us, and we realized it in the second half, and we should have stayed with it more. Other than that, we've been pretty good, pretty balanced the whole way. And Drake's 5 interceptions, and 3 of them he got hit. So he's had an unbelievable year. And he's had to throw to a lot of different receivers because of the Tez drama and Nate being hurt. So it hasn't been the smooth transition of the transfer receivers that we thought it was going to be. And then Kobe getting hurt. So he's had all kinds of stuff that he's had to deal with. And I can't answer the second part. But it'll be a good test. This offense will have a good test the next 3 weeks because they've got 3 really good defenses that they're playing, probably as good as anybody in the country. 2 of them on the road where you can't even hear. This is the offense that we want. We want a balanced offense that can run the ball and protect better. And you can see what, if we could have protected Sam this well, especially in 22, we would have been a whole lot better off.
Talking about Drake and his ability to kind of spread it out to different receivers, like you mentioned, Sam was sometimes was Deani and Daz, and then obviously Josh Downs was kind of those go-to receivers for him. Have you been around a quarterback like Drake that has the ability to spread it around with so many different guys, and it doesn't seem like his play deters depending on who's in that receiver?
Yeah, Sam saw the field really well. Drake's probably as good as anybody I've ever seen do that. And there's more talent spread out right now too. JJ's playing at a very high level, Kobe was. So we got into let's get it to Josh. And I thought we did that too much because we lost Antoine Green and we were inexperienced at some other places. But right now, going into the game, Drake can throw it to anybody, and a lot of different players are getting the ball, and it's fun to watch him.
As a refresher,
Mack, what have you seen from Omarion, how he's involved this season? And then on Saturday, you said that to win college football games, you have to stop the run and then run the damn ball. So how important is Omarion run game going to be this upcoming stretch?
The defenses will be tougher, the players will be better that we're playing on defense, and we still have to stay balanced. We can't do it. The reason I feel like Omarion's so much more successful this year than last year, this offense, the way we're running the ball fits him better. It's a downhill offense more than sometimes when you go sideways, and he's really north and south, and it's hard to stop him from getting 5 yards. He's just so powerful. Secondly, he's got so much more confidence in himself, and because of that, he's much more patient. So you see him waiting. I thought there was one hole he missed that to the left Saturday, and I look up and I'm mad at him. It's 2nd and 3 because he made 7. But he's that kind of player. He's protecting better, and he's catching the ball better. So he is one of the more complete backs right now in the country, and I'm just so proud of him. And he's worked so hard. And again, last year he hurt his ankle some. He didn't play some, and I'm so proud of what he's become. He's taking care of the ball. We dropped the ball 24 against Clemson in the championship game. He's protecting the ball. His improvement from last year to this has just been unbelievable. I'm proud to watch him.
I believe last year you told us the story about what you do with the Victory Bell this week as opposed to the rest of the season. As a refresher, can you kind of take us through that again? And how is the bell itself different this week? Can you overstate the importance of the bell, or do you understand? How do you go about that?
Who knows? Again, you got 120.
Yeah.
So some think you're overstating it, some think you're understating it. What we do is we have it out where they can ring it if they want to. And that's basically what it is. It's not talked about much year-round. This week it is because both teams want it. But it's Mike was new last year. He'll understand that he wants a bell. So that's just part of the deal. And I'm a Mike Elko fan. I like him. I like his toughness. I've known him at Wake, and I've known him for many, many years. And he's very smart. He's tough. I'm impressed with what he's done and how he runs his program, and I like him. He'll have him ready to go, and you love coaching in a game like this where it's going to be physical and emotional, and both teams have a lot at stake.
Where will it be placed this week? Somewhere in this building. Where I'm just curious.
It's always in the same place down at the locker room.
Okay. Yes. It's going to be 3:30 on ABC or ESPN.
Okay.
3:30. Okay. Yes, Art. I'm sorry.
Assuming Elko's not playing with us and Riley's not going to play, he's going to try and win it on defense, obviously. And so it's going to look like State last year, maybe some of the games at the end. So how do you prepare offense when
the first thing is you have to prepare for all of the guys to play, because you don't want to walk out there and be surprised. I remember we were playing Duke and Fred Goldsmith was the coach, and I didn't think Leon Johnson was going to play. He had a sprained ankle. He didn't practice all week. And he's out in pregame warm-ups and he's limping, and Fred comes down to me and says, "Hey, 12's limping, man." I said, "Yeah, I don't think he's going to play." Might as well tell him he's standing there limping. I think he gained 200 yards rushing. And after the game, Fred said, "Did you set me up?" And I said, "No. I didn't know he was going to play." At Tez, we didn't know when we walked off the field in pregame. We thought he ran well enough that he was going to play, but you have to ask him, "Did you feel well enough to play?" And he said yes. And in a game like this one, most guys play if there's any way they can possibly play. So you prepare for everything. The second thing you do is we're handling the blitz much better than we did last year. And running the ball helps that, because if you blitz in the wrong gap and you squirt one, you got to beat one safety. So that's a big part of this too. And we're also chipping a lot better with a tight end and a running back. So we're helping, like Georgia Tech had one player get 5 sacks. That may happen again, but that's our fault as coaches. That's not the player's fault if one of ours can't block one of theirs. But what you do is you still got to do what you do. These coaches work so hard. I mean, people can't even imagine how hard assistant coaches work. They're over here all hours of the night. And if I have one thing I could say bad about assistant coaches, they work so hard they put too much in. And I constantly fight being simple enough, because what you put in that should work for a bunch of 20-year-olds to try to figure out, that have girlfriend problems and just flunked their last test and they're tired and they're worn out, they don't study it as much as you do. They study it a lot, but don't put too much in that you don't get to work on enough, and then you screw it up during the game and say, "It was there." It's not there unless it works. So you gotta get the guys to do it. So I think that's the big thing. We kept doing some of the same stuff against the same stuff last year, and they either blitzed us or dropped 8 in the last three of the last 4 games, and we didn't respond to it well. I think we're in a better position to handle that now.
So how do you even put more emphasis on protecting Drake? Because their idea, not to hurt her, but get him hard and get him out of the game, and that gives them a much better chance.
Yeah, you can't put more emphasis on running the ball and stopping the run than I do, because I don't say hello to our coaches. I say run the damn ball and stop the run every day. You can't, and then right after I say run the ball, because the running game is a quarterback's best friend, I say protect, protect, protect. Because if you don't run the ball and you don't protect the quarterback, you got no chance to win. And usually when I walk in here on Saturday after the game, I can tell you, here's the reason we won, or here's the reason we lost, because of simple things. Football's a simple game played and coached by very complicated people.
This is the best defensive player right now.
They're real good. I can't get into who's best yet. I hadn't even thought about the others aren't. So.
Number one in the league.
Yes.
Coach, you've mentioned all season the importance of fan engagement and stuff like that. Does this Duke-UNC matchup feel any different to you, considering how important it is in determining your postseason hopefuls and stuff like that?
No. Carolina-Duke is bigger than anything else. Mm-hmm. So I think that the rival game this week, it is bigger than what happens at the end of the year and postseason or any of that stuff. This is a fun game that's been played for so long and is really important to this state and to both schools. So I would say that this overrides everything.
Is there any one Duke game that stands out to you? Obviously, some good or bad, because there was some.
Oh gosh.
There was a bad one early, and then you had some good ones too.
I would think probably, Chip, the first one back here, when the 16 seconds left and we intercept the little jump pass, and Surratt intercepted it without thinking about the 10 that we had when I was here before. That one, oh my gosh. I do remember, and I'll tell this quickly and then answer Tommy. And Jeremy's standing up with his arms folded, so that means he's ready for me to leave. I do remember I had just married Sally, and we were going to play Duke, and they said, if you lose to Duke, you'll play Hawaii. you'll play in Hawaii at the Hula Bowl. If you beat Duke, you'll go play in the Peach Bowl. And Sally, not being a football fan, came to me and said, "Oh my gosh, I hope we lose. We get to go to Hawaii." And I said, "No, sweetie, that's not the way this works." In fact, I said, if you beat Duke, you'll have enough money to go to Hawaii. If you lose to Duke, you probably get fired. So no, you don't need to do that. But that game was so special because we had it won. Javante fumbles at the 3, and we're going in to go up by 10. And then they drive the length of the field, and there's maybe overcame 2 4th downs, and we had a face mask on a 4th and 1 where we stop them. So that game, and we weren't very good. They were better than we were. I remember that we'd lost 2 corners, and we had to get Day Hollins to move from safety to corner during the game, and we had to keep him on our sideline where we could tell him what to do because we didn't have any players. So that was a pretty special game. Tommy?
Mack, obviously you coach in a lot of these games, and the approach needs to be the same, but do you sort of emphasize avoiding the chippiness in some of these type games? I mean, Duke games always been pretty that type of game for your players. Is that something that you emphasize during the week about the discipline aspect and all that?
Yes, absolutely, Tommy. And it's a good point. All 3 of these games will be chippy. And that's why you shouldn't have these 3 in a row. I mean, it's hard to play with that much emotion and toughness 3 weeks in a row, 2 on the road. And that's why I said what I said this summer. I just didn't think it's fair to our team. But I've always said, play till the whistle's over and then keep your mouth shut and get back. Dwight Hoyer, who's in charge of our mental health here for the department, he used to knock them down. He's a great linebacker, obviously. And he'd knock them down, he'd pick them back up. I walked over once and I said, "What are you doing? I've never seen anybody pick them up." He said, "Coach, I'm telling him I'm going to be right back." Everybody's got their different approach, but I've always thought the chippy ones are usually the ones that do have a chip on their shoulder, and they're not as confident, so they got to act like they're tough. I said, "Be tough till the whistle blows. When that whistle's over, let's get ready to be tough again." But we don't need any pushing and shoving. And the fun thing about rivalries, the kids here know the kids at Duke. The kids here know the kids at NC State, Clemson. They're all recruited. They all know each other. And they're all buddies. So they text back and forth during the week, and they get after each other during the week. The fans are the ones that hate each other. They have a rivalry. So they may pick at each other, but they really usually like each other.
The last one for Adam.
Mack.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Michael, go ahead and then that.
Yeah. Oh, Mack, just quickly, you mentioned Tez. Are you going to ask him, like Drake, whether he wants to go through senior day or not? Because, I mean, he has that possibility.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that, Michael, but we should. You know, he just hadn't been here as long. But it's a good point where it's kind of confusing now. Because if you're graduating or you're leaving, if you're coming back the next year, will Nate McCullum do it? I hadn't thought about that either. So we could have 54 out there for senior day, be late for the game. So we'd have to
start at 8:30.
Yeah, start at 8:30 in the morning. So yes, Adam.
Matt, will Jordan Louis go through? No, I'm just playing. Have you figured out? I mean, there has to be score.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, I just thought when you said there could be 50, 75.
All right, you ruined it, Adam.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I blame Michael. Have you figured out who you need to
No
pull
excuses. Don't blame. Don't put blame somewhere else.
for? Have you figured out who you need to pull for? Because, I mean, you're in a situation now where there has to be some scoreboard watching. And I think you're in a 5-way tie for 4th right now. You got teams ahead of you, you know, like, who are you pulling for? You got to pull for somebody, I guess.
Yeah, I remember Kansas State and Oklahoma were playing for the conference championship. And if Oklahoma won, we go to the Fiesta Bowl to play Ohio State. And Oklahoma was a lot better, and we knew they were going to win. And I sat there and I pulled for Kansas State all week. And before the game, I pulled for Kansas State because I just didn't want Oklahoma to win. And then Kansas State killed them, and we went to the Holiday Bowl instead of where we were supposed to go. So I quit cheering. I just said, I'm going to let it go where all I need to do is for Carolina to beat Duke. That's it. So I don't get into scoreboard watching. I love football, but I don't pull for one or the other. Sometimes I'll walk out like you all at halftime or at the end of the game and say, wow, I can't believe that. That was a surprise. And then I'll want to go watch my 50 plays to see how it happened. But I've learned that regardless of who I pull for, I need all of my energy to pull for Carolina, because it doesn't matter what I want or what I pull for at some other place.
All right.
Okay?
Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys.